I'm like the most technology like unhelpful person there is in this entire world. Like I just me and technology we just don't get along. It's on silent, but it's still vibrating. It's on the floor now.
That's
It's
fair.
fine.
That's fair. But yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
That does it. That does it. Perfect. Well, welcome. Hopefully, welcome back to Busy Reading Romantasy. I am Callisa. This is a podcast all about mostly romantasy books, surprise, and mainly just about following our interests, our curiosities, our open-mindedness in all of these like fantastical, magical worlds. As usual, this podcast is mainly towards adults. We will have spoilers later on. We'll mention when we get into that bit. But I am here today with Elle. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good. It is a beautiful Tuesday. As I was saying that, I was like, wait, it's Tuesday, right? It's a beautiful Tuesday
Yes,
morning.
Tuesday.
And we were talking a little bit about the weather because we're both in Florida. We actually met at Romantasy Con. So I kind of wanted to start
Oh.
there and just like ask, how did that event go for you? What were your thoughts on
Mhm.
it and your experiences being on the author side of it?
So that was my first event like ever, and it
Yeah.
was 2 weeks after my like book published, and I got kind of in like last second because I had emailed for
Yeah.
next year, and I happened to throw in like, by the way, like if you have a spot open, I will make it happen. And I didn't think they were going to say yes, and then they said yes, and I was like, oh my God. And so it
Yeah.
was such a big event for my first one. I was very nervous the whole time, but everything went pretty smoothly, I think. I got to meet a bunch of authors and I had a lot of fun. I hope it was fun for you guys. It was weird because it was my first book convention in general. Like so I was first
Yeah.
author person in like but yeah, it was really cool. It was
Yeah.
definitely different than anything I'd ever done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That I'm very new to book conventions as well. And so
Yeah.
it is definitely interesting the first time you go to any sort of like signing
Hmm.
or and it's just like rows and rows of people and you're talking and it
Hmm.
was actually interesting because I do remember we met on like the very last day. There was like a few hours left before the whole
Hmm.
thing had ended
Hmm.
and even seeing the like energy difference versus
Hmm.
kind of when everyone was very excited on the first day and going and everything by
Yeah.
day 2 or 3 you're kind of like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
guess.
I think everybody was out really like late the night, like
Yeah.
the first night. Everybody went from like 8 o'clock in the morning till like, I don't even know when people went to bed. I know I went to bed at like 11, which is late for me because I go to bed at like 9 because I'm
Yeah.
a grandma. But I think that's where like, and then we had to get up early the next day. So I feel like everybody was on that same boat too.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. But it was a great time, and I think any
Yeah.
I've come to appreciate any experience. I just want to dress up more as an adult because why not?
Yes.
Like, absolutely, I would
Yes.
love to dress up as a fairy
Hmm.
princess as much as I can.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish that was like normal attire. I could definitely just live in all of my like costumes.
Yes, absolutely. Renaissance fair all the time, though. I
Yes,
could
I
live in
love the
that.
Ren Fair.
Yeah. So we met there and
Hmm.
the purpose of talking today is to talk about Traveler of Heart.
Yes.
But I wanted to start with what kind of got you into writing? Is it something that you've been thinking about for a long time or decided to just like go for it one day?
So I think I always like wrote like little stories when I was younger, but I think I forgot because I when I started writing Travel Apart, I'm like, this is the first time I've done this, and my mom had to tell me like, girl, what? Like you used to do like these writing competitions. I'm like, and then I
What?
remembered and I was like, oh my God. Like when I was like in elementary and middle school, I would like enter all my things. So I
Mhm.
guess I've always liked it. But for Traveler of Heart specifically, I think me, like every other like late 20s, early 30s something, I started reading again within like the past like 5 years because I went to college, started a business, had kids, all this other stuff. So it kind of was on the back
Mhm.
burner. Started reading again, and I was asking all of my friends, I was like, does somebody have like a book recommendation where the girl is not a 19-year-old girl which I love those. Like, don't get me wrong, like those are my favorites.
Yeah.
Like, I love all those, but I wanted something where the character was older. Nobody had one, and I started with my best friend, um, just like kind of spitballing this idea, and she's like, "Well, now you have to write it." So it started as a joke, like on my phone,
Hmm.
and I was like just writing and writing on like a little on the app, like the notes app.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And then I just went for it. I just like started writing, and then I was in a car accident where I couldn't like pick up my kids. I got like kind of hurt. So I was like, I had so much free time because I just had to bring them to school. And so I
Mm-hmm.
just put everything into writing, and it kind of like saved me a little bit. Whatever,
Yeah.
just like my little like, okay, I can't do anything, but I can sit here and write. So that was,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, that's amazing because I think every
yeah.
time I very much have the personality where every time I've thought about like writing, I'm very lucky that I say that I'm like just side questing life right now where I'm like
Hmm.
anything where I get to like, ooh, maybe I'll try that.
Yeah.
And then I think about writing and then I'm like, oh, do I need to learn like how to write a book or like how to even put things together or kind of any of that stuff? And it sounds like you just kind of went for it and made it,
Yeah, I just like went, I just wrote it and
yeah.
hope for the best. That's kind of
Oh,
like my life motto. Just like,
yeah.
might
Yeah.
as well just try it. It doesn't like hurt anything. I literally like, I just posted a reel, like, just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that energy. Okay, so before we get into like specifics of the book that could
Hmm.
potentially spoil anything, would you
Hmm.
like to give a little kind of synopsis or explanation of what Traveler of Heart is for anyone who might be interested in reading it?
So, Traveler of Heart is about a 36-year-old widow with ADHD who is supposed to be leaving on a grief retreat, and she is portaled into a magical world and has 2 weeks to get home. So, I think it's pretty good.
I would
That's like
agree.
it's so hard to like.
Yeah.
Everybody asks me what it's about, and that is always like the hardest question for me because there's so much that happens in the book,
Right.
and I don't want
Right.
to spoil anything. So that's kind of always where I end. Like, what
Yeah.
it's about.
Yeah. I just have to note there's cute little puppy dragons and like that's I
Puppy
would say
dragons.
like
Yeah, I have Erie hanging out. She just lives on my shelf.
amazing. That's amazing. Okay. So now kind of we've got that out of the way. So this is the portion where we're going to talk about aspects of the books that could potentially
Mm,
spoil it. So I would recommend pause it, come back if you would like to read it first, and then join us for this lovely conversation. But yeah, I think that was one of the things that I really appreciated about the book as well. Because, like you said, like I think a lot of us um, maybe into reading when, 19 and early 20s is a very relatable
mm,
age. And I'm
yeah,
starting to get to that age where I'm like, oh yeah, that's like not maybe as relatable
yeah.
anymore, as I'm getting older. Um, and also just
I can
kind of,
always relate to them retrospectively, but
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
I really wanted to feel that like I want to be this character now. Like I could see me
Yes.
doing this now.
Right, right. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
I always talk about like some of the details that as readers we choose to actively like um acknowledge versus the details
Mm,
sometimes we just like tend to overlook. I'm one that
mm,
tends to overlook kind of descriptors of what characters might look like. Like I have the characters made
yeah.
up in my head really, unless there's something big that might stand out to me.
Mm,
But I also love the fact that she had ADHD and then also dealing with loss. So there's kind of all these different little facets
mm.
that um, I think you melded so brilliantly. I think sometimes with
Thank
fantasy,
you.
I find myself, if it's too close to real life, I'm like, oh, but I didn't really want this. I want to escape. And I think you
Mm.
did it so
Oh,
perfectly. It melded so great that I got both of them and
thank
I
you.
didn't feel like too much either way,
Mm.
whatnot. But were those both aspects that you knew from the beginning, like I want this to be a part of it, or again, just kind of going for it, you found that it ended up becoming a part of it?
Um, so I can like spoil things in this part, right? Like
Yeah,
we're good.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. I gave
Okay.
the disclaimer.
Okay,
Go
I was
for
like,
it.
wait, she already said that. I also have ADHD. So I knew I
Nice.
wanted the character to have ADHD because I was also like late diagnosed ADHD girly.
Yeah.
And I was like kind of coming like to terms with it and like what that means for me. So I want like it started with like just Daphne having ADHD
Yeah.
and then how ADHD like plays into the book happened really organically as I was writing. And I was
Gotcha.
like typing, and I was like, oh my God, this is happening. And I
Yeah.
didn't tell any of my friends who were like like my idea people who I was like, what do we think of this? What do we think? I didn't tell any of them until they read it and they were all like, oh my God. So that
Yeah.
part happened really cool. Um, the grief part kind of so I just needed to like originally I just needed to kill the husband because I was like, well, she has to go find a handsome Fey man.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I can't have this married lady going and finding a new husband. Like that
I
would
see the
not go over
problems.
very well.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I have to find out how like I gotta kill this husband somehow and then like bring him back and do all of this stuff. So
Yeah.
that was really cool. Like for me, writing it kind of like the I am what do they call it? Like a pantser, not a plotter. It
Okay.
kind of just is like happening as it comes. Like I have like all of my main points out. I know where she gets in the end and I know how everything happens.
Yeah.
But all of those little details just come like I feel like sometimes the character's writing their own story.
Yeah.
And I'm just the little vessel typing out what they're wanting me to say.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sounds crazy. It's fine.
Uh, it's a gift.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And kind of, yeah, spoilers, jumping ahead a little bit, the part where you get to kind of explaining the magic and kind
Mm,
of the way you explained ADHD and why when she was in
mm,
the Fae realm, she wasn't having the
mm,
same symptoms that she was necessarily having. And I thought,
mm,
as someone who doesn't have ADHD but has struggled with other mental health
mm.
diagnoses in the past, what a beautiful way to look at it and be able to apply it to yourself and your own experience and be like, oh man, maybe that's just like my magic. Maybe I'm just not in the right
Yeah.
world right now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was beautiful. Um,
Thank you.
what was the writing process like for you? I know you said you had the time to just kind of like go for it. Was it
Mm.
you just drop the kids off and then you just writing? Was there any sort of process or anything that you did to maybe help you through the process?
Well, yeah, I would like so like I said, like I had like 8 herniated disc and like a concussion for like a good chunk of time.
Yeah,
And so I
yeah.
wasn't like able like I would literally just drop off my kids at school and I would have like I literally was told by my doctor they were like if you want to feel better you just need to lay there and do nothing. So I literally just sat there and I like laid in bed and I wrote and it was kind of like my therapy because I am a very much like go 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 go
Ah,
person.
I see.
Like I
Yeah.
need to be doing so many things. Like if I am not like that's the ADHD, right? Like if I am not being productive, there's
Hmm.
something wrong. So
Hmm.
this was my way of like being productive. I did for my birthday, like I went on like a writing retreat with like my friends. We like got a cabin up in what was it, Blue Ridge, and like we
Hmm.
sat and like I wrote for a weekend, so that was really nice. Um, but other than like I literally like I feel like that's just part of who I am. That might not necessarily be the same for everybody else, but
Yeah.
if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it because
Yeah.
otherwise my head will be very unhappy if I don't do it.
Fair, fair. Yeah. We don't recommend anyone going out and getting any herniated discs to be
No,
able to
no,
sit down and
no,
focus.
absolutely not. Don't do that. Like just but like sitting down
Yeah.
and sitting down and writing it
Yeah.
because then after like I was better, I just like in my dedication even says like sorry to my husband like for straight up ignoring you for 6 months.
Yeah.
Because I even at night I would sit there and be like no, I have to finish this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I would like be like love you can you do the dishes please? I have to write this thing. And
Yeah.
he was really supportive through the whole process. So I think that really
Oh,
helped
yeah.
because I feel like I got like, he saw the passion, he saw what it was doing for me. And he
Hmm.
was just like, yep, just do it. And he's
Hmm.
like, he's still that way. I'm like writing the next one. and
Mhm.
he's pretty good. I like him. I'll keep him.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep them around. Yeah.
keep him.
What a brilliant way to make an opportunity out of something
Yeah,
that, is challenging and tough and,
yeah.
I've been playing around with that a lot of like the lens that we view things where it could
Hmm.
either be very much, oh man, this sucks, what am I gonna do? Or like, okay,
Hmm.
pivot. What do I have the opportunity to do now,
Yeah,
with what you have. So, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
I try to like view life with that lens in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
Helps.
Yeah. Um, okay, so I know you said you're kind of a pantser, it's just kind of coming.
Hmm.
Um, how was it creating the magic systems or even just
Hmm.
like another realm? Again, was that just like coming to you naturally? Did you have to take some time? Pause. Okay, another
Hmm.
spoiler. I was blown away. I usually pride myself. I've read enough where I'm pretty good at picking up on
Hmm.
things. And when we
Hmm.
got to the part where, so at first I was like, wow, she's really into the like fantasy names. I was like, okay, these are out there, that's fine. And then I got to the part where we realized that it's the letters rearranged, and I was
Yeah.
gobsmacked because normally I would pick up on something like that. But again, you did that so well. So was
Thank
that an
you.
idea? Did that just come to you? Or yeah.
So I'm actually very bad at naming things, is what I learned.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to write about places that I could picture very clearly in my head because like
Ooh,
this is my
okay.
first fantasy book
Yeah.
ever. So it started off on like with like the Zion. I was like, I can very clearly like picture that, explain it. It's like fantasy-esque, like um and like all of the places that are named, like I have been to these places, I can very clearly like tell people what they're like, and
Yeah.
they'll never like know it's a fantasy world. Since it's my first book, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to make a whole new world. So I was like,
Hmm.
let me use the world that I have. And
Hmm.
then I was like, I don't know how to name things, I guess. And then I started just rearranging things. And then I was like, huh, this works.
Hmm.
And it just kind of happened. I know
Yeah.
that doesn't happen for everybody, but
Yeah.
it just, yeah.
Yeah. No, and I can even appreciate like how um simple the magic system was as well, where either it
Hmm.
comes from your head or your
Hmm.
heart or what was the last one?
Or you're
Your
like your
gut.
gut.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder that I think sometimes we read like really heavy fantasy where things are so complex and interwoven,
Hmm.
and like I can genuinely really appreciate something that's a little simpler, easy to understand,
Hmm.
and like it makes sense. Like where
Yeah.
your magic comes from. Like I was thinking
Hmm.
and I was like, oh man, mine probably would come from my head because I can be a very like logical person. I need to
Yeah.
think about
Very
it.
analytical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, and also a few little other simple things. Gotta mention the little puppy dragons. That was
Yeah, I
beautiful.
love my
And
puppy dragons.
I was kind of, it's funny because in the beginning, I think I wanted to be I was very suspicious of Silas. I was like, "Ah, I don't
Everybody
know.
was.
I don't know. I don't trust
Everybody
it."
is.
Um,
Uh, a
yeah.
funny thing is, so originally when I was writing it, Silas was blonde,
Mhm.
and then Wyatt was like the one with the dark hair, and then everybody thought Silas was evil the whole time, like during like beta reads and arc reads.
Oh.
Everybody, they were like, he's blonde, he's bad news, we
It's-
don't like him.
Mm-mm.
So I had to switch their descriptions just so they didn't automatically be like, nah, Silas, we don't like him, he's blonde.
But that's a funny detail people pick up. But yeah, that was pretty funny. And also the clothes that magically fit, just like
Yes,
I wish I lived in a world like
me
that.
too.
She was like, yeah, whatever your body is, it works out. I'm like, oh gosh,
Yeah,
we need that
that would be great.
magic.
Yeah.
So there, yeah, there was lots of little nuggets that I was so surprised at and enjoyed.
Mhm.
What was your favorite scene to write?
Favorite to write. So that is a big tie between the scene where she's in Elsie's cabin and they're like, she's just like knitting because I had a lot
Mhm.
of fun with that character. and then the scene where like the vampire comes and she's all
Mhm.
crazy. I just had a lot of fun with those scenes.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that. And like I also like the energy of just like, be gone. You've overstayed your welcome.
Yeah,
Like I remember her just
just
kicking him
leave.
out and be like,
Like you're annoying me. I've got to go back to knitting
I could
my stuff.
see it. I could see how that could be very therapeutic to like
Yes.
write a character that like maybe says all the things we want to say as humans or
Yes.
whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, that's awesome. Is there any scenes that you maybe had challenges with or was tough or you had to like redo or anything like that?
Um, well, I like the book went through so many rounds of revisions. I think
Hmm.
most scenes were kind of changed in some way or another, especially when I got to the end and um like once I finished reading and had to go back and like adding in the little details. Scenes that I
Gotcha.
had, I don't think I had to like I don't think anything was more difficult
Hmm.
than the others. That just like making sure all of like the little seeds are laid throughout it, that
Hmm.
was more difficult because in my head I know everything,
Hmm.
but I have to make sure that's like on the page. So
Yeah.
my editor had to go be like, "Hey, they don't know this part yet. Make sure you are remembering they don't know
Right,
that."
right. Yeah.
But
That
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah. And that's one of the skills that I can very much appreciate in writing is yeah, the little hints and stuff that like
Mm,
later a lot of readers get
yeah.
that like moment, you know.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so we get through this journey and like
Mm.
you're getting more, personality and the fun little things dropped in of like when she went to go try the bean water and she's like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
not it actually."
This is not coffee.
And Silas being a great person was like, "Yes, bring your drugs here. We'll have a great time." Um,
Yeah. Those were, I also love those like little moments where she would go into like her reality and then says like, what?
what, hang
Those
on,
were just
hang
fun
on.
for me to
Yeah,
write.
yeah. And even just
Yeah.
like the human moment. I remember when she like bursts in and he's in the bathroom. First of all, applause, because I think that is the first I've
Thank you.
ever read of like a fictional character needing to use the restroom.
I mean, they have to go at some point.
I was like, yes. And she was just bursts in and she's so excited. And again, like I could see myself doing something like that or like very, very human moment.
Yeah.
And it's all the small things that
Hmm.
really I think create a book. I love those
Hmm.
small moments that don't necessarily have much in terms of maybe like big plot pieces, but it makes it more relatable and memorable,
Yeah.
clearly. Um,
Yeah.
but you left us on quite the cliffhanger. Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
I did, that was kind of my guess. Well, I had a
Hmm.
few versions of the same guess, but when we got a little
Hmm.
bit more history as far as like this family just disappearing, that's when I was like,
Hmm.
oh, maybe. I
Hmm.
did not expect Wyatt to be at the very end being like, hey, sup? Um, yeah. What did you knew it was like going there and you were like, he's gonna show up.
Yes, that I did know. Like I
Yeah,
knew like once I did have like a rough outline before like writing. So like he does
gotcha.
like I knew that I had to get there.
Yeah,
So while writing
that
like
makes
that's like
sense.
just always like how do I get from point A to point B? But
Yeah,
yeah, I always knew he was going to show up at the end.
gotcha. Okay, so what can you let us know about the next book? Are you currently working on it or?
Well, book point five comes out in March.
Right, okay.
So
Can you tell
that
us
one
about
is
that one
going to
too?
be yeah, so that one is Daphne and Wyatt. And you
Okay.
just kind of get to learn. So it's dual point of view, which has been really fun to write.
Oh,
Also
okay.
very different. Um, so that is their story. So we get to learn a little bit more about how they became a couple, what their relationship was like, before, and we get cute little tidbits of like, I don't want to do too many spoilers, but we get like when they get eerie at like the Ariella's version of eerie at like the farmer's market and cute little
Yeah.
things. But we also see Wyatt's point of view, and I don't want to do too many spoilers
I
of
see. Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
but just what is going through his head, like the like 17 years that they were together.
Gotcha. Oh, interesting. That will,
Yeah.
yeah, because at first was, when you first mentioned that, I guess my first thought was a curiosity around going from, like I said, fantasy, which I love, is what I read,
Hmm.
to the idea of her and Wyatt would essentially just be kind of like a maybe something more along the lines of like a contemporary romance because it can
Hmm.
happen in it is in our normal world.
Hmm.
That my first thought was like, oh, like I don't know necessarily how I would like how much I would enjoy that comparatively.
Hmm.
But getting that piece in there of like
Yeah.
his thoughts and kind of maybe a
Yeah.
little bit more.
It definitely reads more like a contemporary, but there is
Yeah,
still magic in it.
fair.
And that is all I can say about that.
Perfect. Perfect. And when does
Yeah.
that one come out?
March 14th.
March 14th. Okay. Sounds good.
It's
Sounds
full
good.
moon and it's an eclipse. So,
Oh, oh, she said
yeah,
that was the date.
that was the take. Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. And
Yeah.
then are you going to start working on book two?
Book two is outlined. There
Okay.
are 7 chapters written. It's
Okay.
on pause because while I was writing book two, because I, like everybody else, I wanted to go right to book two as well.
Yeah.
But I realized there was a lot more that everybody else needed to know about Daphne and Wyatt before going right into
Gotcha.
book two.
Okay.
Because right now it is a very everybody's like very polarized. Is that I'm using that word correctly? And they're very much maybe somebody likes them. I have not heard one person tell me that they like Wyatt. So I just need people to understand things from his view
Okay.
versus just how they feel now.
Okay. Fair.
Sorry, I have
Fair.
to like
That,
think of how to say that correctly
yeah.
without spoiling too much.
No, that is fair. And I could definitely see the benefit of getting some
Mm-hmm.
of that, like pausing to go back. Let's kind
Mm-hmm.
of clarify some things and,
Mm-hmm.
how that would support how things have ended up the way that they have. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. Um, I want to ask you if you have any other future projects in mind, but before I go to that, I just want to
Mm-hmm.
check in and see if there's anything else you want to say about Traveler of Heart in general.
Um, in general, you could ask whatever questions that you want, or what were your favorite parts. I just like hearing what people like about it because it makes me feel good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, other than that, I think like whatever I'm just following your lead. I'm having a good
Perfect.
time.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, then in that case,
Mhm.
yeah, do you have other future projects in mind? Like, is there more things
Mhm.
in terms of writing, or I'll just open it up into like anything in general in life or like other conventions? Kind of what's on the
So
horizon?
yeah, as far as like conventions go, we've got a few things coming up. I have the 25th, I have a panel at the Winter Park Library with the New Romantics. And
Okay.
then there's a Galentine's event that, again, like the New Romantics. If you have not been
Mhm.
there, by the way, it's off Corinne. It's
I
amazing. It's so
haven't.
cute.
Okay, I'll check it out.
It's a
I'll
Taylor
write it down.
Swift like themed romance only bookstore.
Yeah.
Um, and they're hosting a Galentine's Day, so I'll be at that on the 13th. And then I just booked a spot for the Romantically Yours convention, which is in August, and Starfall Ball, I think, or Stardust Soiree, something like that through Alexia in May. There's like so many of like very similar. They all kind of like jumble together.
Uh-huh.
Um, that's all I have booked for right now. I'm hoping to go back to Romantasy Book Con. I'm still waiting to hear
Gotcha.
back from them. They have
Yeah.
like a lot going on with like their LA convention, so I'm just
Yeah.
patiently waiting. As far as other projects, so Traveler of Heart will be a trilogy with 2 prequel novellas.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
it'll right now it's book one, book point five, book two, point five one, or 5.2. Yeah, 5.2, and then book three. So that's what I have planned for that. So that's going to take me a good bit of time to
Fair.
finish.
Yeah.
But I have like, I think me and like every author that I've talked to, we have like, I have a running list of like different ideas and series that I
Yeah.
want to write eventually when there's like more time, things like
Gotcha.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I think I have to finish Traveler of Heart before doing anything else, or people would get really upset with me.
I could see how that could happen. Yes.
Like, what is she doing?
It's always like that with series.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, so okay, I'm ready for
Yeah.
the next
Yeah.
one.
If something were to happen and I like got a book deal and was able to write full time, because right now
Yeah.
I have a full-time job, I've got kids, and
Okay.
then I write at night.
Yeah.
So especially now, like I'm like luckily like I did everything the doctor said, like I'm healed. I can do whatever I want now.
Hmm.
Um Time is like limited as far as writing. But
Understandable.
if I was to be able, I really like my job, but I would probably still do it like 1 or 2 days a week. Um but if I was able to do that job less than I do now, I would be able to write way more, right? So
Fair.
it's
Fair.
just seeing where the cards take us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
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 I'm curious, how did the publishing process go? So outside of writing, but like the back end of actually getting your book published, what was that like?
So I self-published.
Okay.
So it was a little, it is really hard. Like I won't like lie to anybody. Like if anybody wants like write a book and you're gonna self-publish, just know it is a lot of work because you are your own marketing, your own content creator. You are paying for editors, you're paying for websites, you're paying for graphic design, like you're paying all of this stuff to get your book out there. And then you're doing all of the work. So I queried for a little bit, and then I was talking to somebody and they told me how long it could take for a book to get from like you to agent to publisher. I was like, I don't got time for that. So I I went and well, I also wanted to be one of the first people to write a book about a mom. And I had
Hmm.
started posting about it and I was like, oh my God, I need to get this. Like, I want to not, I
Hmm.
don't think I was the first. I'm sure
Hmm.
there was somebody else who wrote one, but like one of them, one of the first ones to write one.
Hmm.
And doing self-publishing, I'm able to move at my own speed. I can publish when I want. I can write as fast as I want or as slow as I want.
Hmm.
So that's how I went with that. But a lot of work, but worth it.
Yeah, yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, do you have any advice for anyone who's thinking about writing their first book?
I think like the biggest thing is just do it. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
just go ahead, like go for it. Like might be not be like everybody's cup of tea, but you're gonna find somebody who likes your book. And like the first part of doing anything is just doing doing the thing. Because the first
Absolutely.
draft is gonna be nonsense. It's gonna be horrible.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna be good. But once you write that and then you edit, like that's where all of like the magic happens and like then you have a book. And
Hmm.
not like a whole lot of people can say, "Hey, I wrote a book." So I just say go for it. If your heart is telling you to like write something, you should follow what it says.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. We back when I was learning basically how
Mm-hmm.
to do what I do now, which is
Mm-hmm.
a version of like a virtual assistant.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about like we had a saying. It was something along the lines of like, if your first version of whatever is like really good, you waited too long to do it. Like you gotta start basically, and
Yes.
it's gonna be bad, but that's gonna teach you what you actually need to know
Mm-hmm.
to just get better and get it out there and do
Yeah.
what you know what you want to do, what you're thinking about
Yeah.
doing. Um,
Yeah.
would you say that when it comes to the world you've created, would you be a
Mm.
magic of the heart gal?
I would want to say that I am a magic of the heart girl, but I know that I am in here too much
Yeah,
for
that's
to
fair.
be like I over analyze and overthink everything far too
Mhm.
much to be like, yes, I like
Yes, I
I
follow my
love a
heart.
lot. I follow my heart, but I'm like, no, no, I've thought about this situation in 500 different ways and I know
Yeah.
all of the scenarios. So I would probably for my head, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm the
Yeah.
same exact way. As nice as it would be to be like,
Yeah.
yes, I follow my heart. I'm like, but I'm going to think and research everything and plan the best way
Yes.
to approach this.
Yes.
So I feel that. Uh,
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining me and chatting with me. And I am so excited to continue on this journey. If you
Yeah.
want to let everyone know where they can find you,
Yeah.
if they want to follow your work as well.
Okay. Oh, like
Yeah,
on
yeah.
social media, I'm just Elle Kish author on everything. So it's ELLEKISH author on all of the social medias.
Perfect. And you do all of
Yeah.
them, like the Instagram,
I
TikTok,
do
and
Instagram, I do TikTok for now. Hopefully it
yeah.
stays for now. Um, those are my main two. Yeah, I haven't branched out to anything else, but yeah, just that's what it is.
Okay, fair. Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I would absolutely love to have you back as we like continue on this journey with more books and everything throughout the series.
Yeah, of
And
course.
I am so excited to see what's to come.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Like getting my first podcast done, so that was super fun.
Woohoo! Yeah, now you're just like
Yeah.
checking off all these.
I did it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you are watching, I would absolutely love to know if you have read Traveler of Heart and what your thoughts of it were. Send your favorite parts to Elle. She would love to hear
Yeah, I
all the
want to hear
great
it. Like
things.
slide in my DMs. I want to know.
Yeah, oh yeah. That I throughout the whole episode, I went through my laundry list of everything I absolutely loved, and it is just the small moments that make it like such a beautiful story. And you're like, oh, I love that though. So yeah, I would love to hear that, hear your thoughts about it. And yeah, if you're watching this, then you should know that you can watch it on Spotify and YouTube. I am also on Instagram and TikTok. Everything is the same, busy reading romantasy. And yeah, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.